debate, but staying, of course, with a very big international story. Global markets are in turmoil due to the escalating conflict in Middle East and India. The Sensex has fallen by over 1,500 points. The Nifty has dropped by more than 1%. The volatility is largely driven by India's reliance on oil imports from the region, making it susceptible to global tensions. The recent confrontation between Iran and Israel has raised concerns over oil supply disruptions. Remember, Israel is among the world's top 10 producers, outputting around 3 million barrels per day, with exports counting for roughly half of that. Any disruption could significantly impact oil prices. And as we are watching this conflict unfold and perhaps its repercussions in India, joining me live right now from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, is the former Foreign Secretary of India, Shyam Saran. Ambassador Saran, thank you so much for joining us on Mirror Now, all the way from Riyadh. We appreciate you taking time out to speak to us. Ambassador Saran, the Middle East, as we all know, is in the middle of a major armed conflict. You are in Saudi Arabia, where the world has come together to discuss cybersecurity. In many ways, the escalation began in the domain of cybersecurity a couple of weeks ago, with pagers exploding across Lebanon.
Well, you already have the case of exploding pagers, so even a very simple device like a pager or a mobile telephone, many devices that we use, normally in our day-to-day activities, in a sense, they are being weaponized, and that's a matter of great concern, because what do you trust then? It's a matter of trust, because it is trust which enables you to use your various devices, and you hope that it will not explode in your face. So there is a link, because those who have major cyber capabilities, and Israel certainly does, it can use those capabilities in the kind of armed conflict which is taking place, whether it is with with Hamas in Gaza, or now with Lebanon. Who knows, tomorrow this conflict may spread to the entire region, and this is a matter of great concern. For example, in the country that I am currently attending the conference, this is a matter of great anxiety to people here, that this is something which will completely upend some of the progress, the very significant progress that has been made in this part of the world with regard to economic and social development.
Well, there's anxiety in Saudi Arabia where you are. There's also anxiety in India where I am at this point, Ambassador Saran. But India's response has been very guarded here, given the fact that it has close cultural, defense and strategic and economic ties with both Israel and Iran. Is there anything India can do at this point, given its unique position as being someone who's completely neutral to the conflict, to try and perhaps de-escalate tensions?
So as far as the reason for anxiety are concerned, there should be quite self-evident. We have something like 9 million or even larger number of Indians who are living and working in this region. Obviously, their welfare, their safety is a matter of great concern to us. So if there is a wider war in this region, naturally, these citizens of India will be very much impacted by the conflict. There will be issues of how can we evacuate them from the region. There will be issues about, how we can protect them from the violence that is likely to erupt. Secondly, this is a region which is very important to us from our energy security point of view. After all, much of our oil, much of our natural gas also comes from this particular region. So if something happens to disrupt that, that will also have an impact. This is also, in terms of the maritime routes, which are very important to us in terms of our exports, not only to the Middle East, but also beyond the Middle East. Again, if there is a conflict, those sea lanes of communication will be impacted. So there is every reason for India to be very concerned about the situation that is, emerging in the region. And there is no doubt that we would certainly like a peaceful solution to the problem that we see today. Now, if you ask, what is the role that India can play, the only thing which I can say is that because we have good relations not only with Israel, but we also have good relations with several of the countries in the Gulf, as well as with Iran. Is there something that we can do to contribute to the de-escalation of the conflict? Maybe we can, but I have not seen so far any kind of overt initiative on our part. Maybe there is some, behind the scenes, some effort going on, but of course, I'm not aware of that.
Okay, so let's focus then on the main dramatis personae. Ambassador Saran, if today Israel decides to take out Iran's nuclear assets, which is of course the big threat, what are the possible ramifications?
Well, I certainly hope that that does not happen, because that would be a very serious escalation on the part of Israel if it does attack Iran's nuclear facilities, because that's I think quite apparently a red line for Iran. And there can be many other consequences, because if you attack a nuclear facility, will there be radiation damage that may take place? There will be large number of deaths maybe as a result. So it is not even in Israel's interest to take this conflict to that level. Crossing the nuclear threshold is something which is fraught with great danger. So not only India, but I would hope that there will be an international effort to try and make certain that something like this does not happen, because this is not only a matter which concerns Israel and Iran, but it is a matter which concerns the entire world.
So Ambassador Saran, you have pointed out it's not in Israel's interest to elevate or escalate this issue, but is it in its interest to extend and prolong this issue? How long do you see this conflict going on?
I'm not an astrologer, so I really cannot say how far this will go. After all, you have the Ukraine war, which is now entering its third year. So whether or not this will be also one of those conflicts which will linger on for quite some time, that is something which is difficult to say. But I would only make the point which I did before, that the longer this conflict goes on, lingers on, the greater will be the impact on not just the regional economy, but on the global economy. Because oil prices will go up, for example. It will affect economies across the world. Okay. As I mentioned to you, that shipping routes will be impacted. That will again impact not only the countries in the region, but across the world. So there is greater interest, I think, on the part of the world as a whole to try and make certain that this conflict does not go beyond this threshold. Because if it does, I think there will be many unexpected, very unpredictable consequences. None of them will be very good either for India or for the rest of the world. Thank you.
All right, Ambassador Saran, appreciate your words of wisdom as always. Thank you so much for joining us all the way live from Riyadh.